Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. I hope you're all awake after an extra hour of being able to, sleep longer. But I still woke up at the same time. I think the body is just kind of used to waking up, and it's hard to sleep longer. I'd rather sleep earlier than sleep longer, but I hope everyone had a good rest. We'll begin this morning's service. Again, if you please join us in the reading of Sambujo, followed by Juseige.
morning, everyone. Okay, so now please join me in reading Golden Chain. Please join me in Gassho. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much. Okay, so now I'm gonna start my Dharma talk. So today we are conducting the service as a Eitaikyo service. So Eitaikyo is a tradition that started in Japan at Edo period, hundreds of years ago. Literally, it means perpetually chanting Buddhist sutra, and it has become an annual service at our churches. So our lives are created by many causes and conditions, such as our environment, education, and nature, and society. Probably the most meaningful connection we have is to our family and friends, and especially those who have those people who have lived before us, such as our parents, grandparents, others, and ancestors, including those both non-biologically and biologically related. Without them, we would not exist here, and this current convenient life would never happen here. So Eitaikyo is a memorial service which honors those people and helps remind us of our connection to them. By thinking of these connections, we can see our lives as a part of a greater whole rather than standing alone. Thus, we feel the sense of gratitude and appreciation for those lives. Then, what kind of benefits have we already received from our ancestors? Have you thought about it? I would say that we have received countless benefits through education, the development of technology, the medicine, this environment which exists here in this life itself. So, thanks to the development of technology, we can access any information which we want to know right away, and communicate someone who is even in a distance through many convenient devices such as a smartphone and PC and then stuff like that. I'm terribly with the direction, but I was able to drive to Berkeley recently by myself thanks to the benefit of technology, and I came back here home safe and sound, right? And also, I am thankful for development of medicine. Although I don't remember at all, I was almost dying when I was still an infant because my stomach was badly stuffed and I couldn't breathe. However, thanks to my doctor and medical development, it helped me survive. And also, there are much amazingly beautiful scenery and magnificent nature all over the United States and also all over the world. I haven't seen everything yet, but I want to see them as much as possible once we are able to travel more freely. I personally went to Monterey recently and visited Monterey Aquarium. I really enjoyed seeing the sea animals there, and I saw some inspirational panels at the aquarium, which taught kids how our lives impact the ocean atmosphere and the sea animals. They showed over 1 million marine animals, like including mammals, fish, and sharks, turtles, and birds, are killed each year due to plastic debris and in the ocean. Speaking of not only the ocean, but also other natural environments. The nature which we see is a result and consequence which have been brought about from the past to the present time. The beauty of nature is still present, but at the same time, our humanity's selfish actions might continue to impact the nature in a badly unless we reflect upon ourselves. So looking back to what we have already received from our ancestors like this, we can be mindful that we've been receiving indescribable amount of benefit from them. Then, how about us? Could we become a good ancestors for the next generation in the future? Our average span is getting longer and is now expected to be around 100 years. However, our lives will never end in such a short-term connection. Just like we've been receiving from our ancestors, it will continue endlessly. So let's say, try to think about the world of the next 1,000 years that will follow today. When we see our future in a short-term thinking, like second, minute, or like hour, or week, day, or something like that, you may think it is not our business because we will not be there. Because maybe there are people of our great grandchildren's generation in the next 10,000 years. Just try to imagine what will be like. Maybe science and technology will be much more developed than it is now. Maybe the robot like Baymax will be invented and help their daily lives. They might have a special door to let them to everywhere they want instantly. But will they still have these beautiful natural resources which we'll have now? We'll never know. Will they have a peaceful world and respect each other without any war and any discrimination? We will never know this as well. However, again, as Buddhism shows us from 2,600 years ago, our lives are created by many causes and conditions of the past, which is accumulation of each condition and causes a condition that occurs at the time, moment to moment. Which when we see our present lives in a long-term connections of our lives, what can we see? Maybe it makes us aware of how we live here and now. We will never be able to see our great-grandchildren. However, we may still affect their future because right now, each action and thought will make both our future and their future too. If it were not for the benefits from the past, the connections of our lives from the past, will never be here. From another standpoint, our generation also has a responsibility and the potential to make the future in a bad or better way. The connections of causes conditions endlessly continuing even after our individual lives end. Buddhism makes us aware of the depth of our life or our own lives by showing us both the limits of our lives and infinity of the life. We take it for granted to share this with everybody here and now, but this is something which we should appreciate because we tend to think our lives in the short term, not in the long term. Although everything can be seen, we'll be able to be mindful the broader world of life is displayed before us. As for our tradition, if we were not for our ancestors who appreciated this tradition before us, we'll never be able to hear the same teaching here. But we are able to hear it now. Our ancestors reflected upon their own lives through this teaching and handed down to us to this day. That is because everybody has the same problems in common over the time and space, as may has as many conflictions. However, Amida's wisdom and compassion will never fail to embrace all of them, as they are beyond humans' narrow perspectives of good or bad, poor or rich, preferable or unpreferable. Here in the Buddhism enabled us to obtain Amida's universal perspectives and see the world universally, and open ourselves up with Amida's wisdom and compassion, because Amida is a Buddha with immeasurable life and conceivable light. This wisdom and compassion are for each of us, but also for people who brought us to this day, and for people in the endless future as well. Reflect upon our present selves through Buddhism. What did you see in ourselves? What do you want to be like? This life is not only for ourselves, but thanks to our ancestors, we are here, and this life is an amazing life, which is full of potential to be able to make a great future and hand it over to the people in the future. Our great ancestors have been showing us a way here and now. Now, it may be a good time for us to question ourselves if we can become a good ancestors for the people in the future. Thank you for listening. I'd like to close this talk with Gassho. Please show me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Next week is our Eshinni, Kakushinni, BWA memorial service at the 10:10 service. But we'll also, and our guest speaker is Michiko Inanaka, and she'll also speak at our Dharma school service. So please join us for that. The Kakushinni, Eshinni was Shinran's wife, and Kakushinni, their daughter, who took care of Shinran in the last days of his life, and their relationship, Eshinni's relationship with her daughter, although they were hundreds of miles apart in the latter part of their lives, for many years, they had a close relationship that came through the letters that they shared. These letters written by Eshinni were discovered relatively recently, in the 1920s, when someone kind of stumbled upon these letters and realized that these were the letters of Eshinni written to her daughter, that included some reassurance to her about her father's death. So please plan to join us next week for this service, remembering Eshinni and Kakushinni, and also for the 10:10 service, the BWA's memorial service. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. As we conclude, will you please join Gassho and then Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. I hope all of you are enjoying this extra hour of daylight that we have now. The difference between daylight savings and standard time is really arbitrary, right? And there's some discussion now about whether it actually causes more problems than not. I just realized as Mikame Sensei was doing Kansho and I was sitting back here, kind of lost. I was going to say lost in thought, but I think it was just lost. But I think I'm more tired this morning than I am normally on Sunday mornings, and I don't think it's necessarily due to the change in time. You would think that now that it's later, that I would be more energetic. But in any case, good to have you here on this first day back on standard time. As we continue with this morning's service, will you please join us in the reading of Sambujo, followed by Juseige. Sam Once again, good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. Today we have a special guest speaker, Sumi Tanabe, who will give this morning's Dharma message. お願いします。
Good morning, everyone. How are you? You had 1 hour of extra sleep, so that's good, right? Today is when we observe Eitaikyo, the perpetual memorial service. It is paying honor to those who lived and died as Buddhists and due respect of their contribution to the growth of Sanghas. It is an opportunity for us to express our gratitude to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. As I reflect upon the many individuals I know who should be honored during Eitaikyo, the one characteristic that I notice about these individuals is their immense capacity for compassion. In Buddhism, we always hear about wisdom and compassion, compassion and wisdom. This morning, I would like to talk about compassion and focus on a certain part of our population, the disabled. Please join me in Gassho. This is from Reverend Sujei's book, The Heart of the Buddha Dharma. My life energy, which I selfishly call my own, is really a cosmic energy. I do not own it. It belongs to the universe. While it operates in me, I must realize that I must direct it towards compassionate ends. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, my father took my brother and me to Fresno, to Cal Theater, which was owned by Nisei. This was kind of a treat he gave us every weekend. After the movie, we were walking on the sidewalk, and about 100 feet in front of us, we saw something coming towards us. I thought at first that it was a dog, some kind of animal is coming faster and faster towards us. As it came closer, I realized that it was not an animal, but a human being with no arms, no legs. And I thought, how clever, this person has found a way to transport himself without arms or legs. That image of that man on that, what we call today a skateboard, because it was a board with some wheels, probably stayed in my mind for a very long time. In fact, even today, I could still see that person on that board. Another person, when we talk about someone with no arms and legs, I think about Mrs. Hisako Nakamura, a Japanese woman. While on a tour of Japan one year, I had some time, so I went to the local post office to buy some cash. And while I was walking on the street, I passed by the Higashi Hongwanji temple. And there was all these big signs and big pictures of this woman, and there was an exhibit of Mrs. Nakamura. So I decided after the post office, I would go inside to see the exhibit. It was a wonderful and moving exhibit. We saw a video, we saw pictures, and I bought her book. This is a story about a woman who had no arms and legs and was able to live a fairly normal life. She met Helen Keller and gave Helen Keller a gift of some flowers and dolls which Mrs. Nakamura made herself. Now remember, she had no arms and legs, but she was able to sew things. It was a very moving moment for Helen Keller. Mrs. Nakamura was able to do much with the help of her husband. She had more than one. So even though she was an exceptional human being, she had people around her who helped her. Later on, she became a devout Jodo Shinshu follower. I have been attending the Bisei Center for Buddhist Education seminars and workshops for some time now on Zoom. In September, the seminar was conducted in 2 sessions by Reverend David Matsumoto, and his topic was on Shinjin, a difficult topic. At the end of his 2 sessions, he mentioned someone that I was very unfamiliar with. As many of you know, Reverend Matsumoto's son has Down syndrome. He said this woman was a hero to him. I was curious to know who she was, and so I looked her up on the internet. This year is the 31st anniversary of the ADA, American Disabilities Act. This is a story of one such disabled person mentioned by Reverend Matsumoto. Those of you who pay close attention to the art world may know about her. I didn't. Her name is Judith Scott. She was born in 1943 to a family in Ohio. She was a twin, but she had Down syndrome and was deaf and dumb. So when she was age 5, her parents institutionalized her. Her twin sister, Joyce, looked for her twin sister for a very long time and finally found her when Judith was 44 years old. And she decided to move her sister and herself to Oakland. Joyce enrolled Judith at the Oakland Creative Growth Arts Center. She wanted her sister to have a nurturing environment where her sister's talents would grow. Judith would walk around in her neighborhood picking up this and that, little pieces of strings, some discarded little wires, some sticks, some stones. She would then take these items and make sculptures. She discovered her passion for abstract art. Her art expressed that we are both made of balls of twine, and no one is better valuable than anyone else. I wonder, as she walked around gathering these pieces of discarded items, did she think about herself and the way she was discarded at such a young age? In the 18 years that Judith made her artwork, she never repeated a form or color scheme. Joyce wrote an account of her sister in the book Entwine, Sister and Secrets in the Silent World of Artist Judith Scott. Judith died on March 15, 2005 in Dutch Flat, California. She was locked away in an institution for 35 years. Her story is a lesson, a profound lesson in moral courage, and also the power of one compassionate person, her sister, and how each of us can work to shift society in a positive and caring direction. Another disabled person I've known since childhood, a very young age, is Boku Yanagihara. Some of you may remember him. He was a son of Patsy and Jim Yanagihara. Patsy was one of my dearest, closest friends. She married Jim Yanagihara, who became a BCA minister, and served at this Betsuin during 1983-1986. Their son Dale, but we called him Boku, was born in Japan while Jim was undergoing ministerial classes. When Boku was about 10 months old, he burned a high fever. It was so high they couldn't get it down for several days. After this, even though he was still a baby, he was not able to walk, talk, and do the normal things other children could do. They were never able to diagnose his illness. At first, they thought he had encephalitis. Once Jim finished his schooling in Japan, he was assigned to the Gardena Buddhist temple. Boku was taken back and forth to Japan because Patsy was very much interested in having him continue the therapy by a person there. As he grew older, Boku was able to walk with a walker. They tried to teach him sign language, but of course, his fingers were not able to move in such a way where he could sign good enough to be understood. Patsy attached a computer to his walker so that he could communicate when they went to a restaurant what he wanted to eat. There were pictures of a hamburger, hot dog, soup, ice cream, and so all he had to do was to point and press a button of that picture to tell the waitress what he wanted to eat. This worked for a while until it fell one day and that computer broke. Whenever I would complain about something small, I would think about Patsy and what she had to endure every day, and I would be ashamed. At Reverend Jim's last minister assignment in San Luis Obispo, Patsy had her first bout with cancer, so I went to stay with her for a long weekend. We were talking as usual. We went outside. Boku was with his walker, and we were talking so much we stopped paying attention to Boku. And all of a sudden, we noticed that he wasn't around. We thought, oh my goodness, what happened to Boku? At San Luis Obispo, there's a long parking lot, but at one side, it kind of goes down into a little cliff. And so we were yelling at Boku, Boku, where are you? But of course, because he cannot talk, he could not yell back to us, here I am, come get me. After about a half an hour looking, we finally decided to look down this little cliff, and there was Boku. Fortunately, he fell and was stuck on a bush, so he did not fall all the way down. That bush protected him, so we finally went down and got him. This was kind of an everyday occurrence for Patsy. She had to deal with this type of business with Boku, and so she always, even though he was able to walk with a walker, had to keep an eye open for him. Jim retired back to where he was from, San Diego. As the years passed, Patsy passed away. Reverend Jim moved to Fresno to be in this facility. He died in this facility, but Boku is still in that facility where he has a cousin who works there, plus Patsy's sister is also living there. So he has plenty of people who love him and take care of him. All his life, he has been very fortunate in having people around him who took care of him and was very, very patient and kind. So when you see a disabled person, show a little bit of compassion by giving him or her a little smile, or perhaps of saying hello. With a little effort on your part, it would make that person so happy. Please join me in Gassho. This is from the Meditation Sutra. We shall receive the Buddha's great mind of compassion and never falter in our efforts. May the Buddha guide us always in our humble efforts. In each thought, we shall be mindful of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Please continue to take care and stay safe.
Thank you, Sumi. Yeah, I remember those days when Patsy and Boku were still in Japan when I went in 73, 74. They were still there.
He's 51 years old.
He's 51 now? Wow, yeah. And they were just getting ready. Did they return? I know Jim, I don't think maybe Jim was there yet when I first arrived, but yeah, that lots of people were involved with the care of Boku. I mean, of course, but Patsy and Jim were the primary, but it involves a lot of people, and I think when we can recognize that, we realize how connected we are and how much we depend on others. But then to be able to express that compassion, to show that compassion and care for another person, I think is really important. We also have to be responsible in showing and acting in a way that is compassionate. And thank you very much for your message this morning. Thank you very much again, everyone, for joining us for this morning's service. We'll conclude with Gatha from the Betsuin choir in Lumbini's garden. Thank you, Betsuin Choir. Normally we have the choir only at our special services, our major services, but we get to hear them more often now, which is kind of nice. They have 3 recordings that hopefully we'll be able to increase on that. It's not because they are unable to perform more songs. It's just that it takes time to bring all of these recordings together because everybody's separate in different places, and they have to work on timing, work on editing, combine all of these songs, and it's a real project to do that. But it is nice to be able to hear them now regularly at our Sunday morning services. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Mikame Sensei, for the Dharma School message this morning, and Sumi Tanabe for this morning's 10:10 service message. Thank you very much, everyone. If you please join in Gassho as we conclude this morning's service. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.